Welcome back, guys, gals and non-binary pals. It's once again that magical time of year where I finally get around to talking about all the albums that have been sitting on my to-do pile for the last 3 months. Now, some of these albums absolutely deserve the full 10+ minute treatment, I know, hell yeah they do, but I'm one man with a full-time job, and I only get so many hours a week to dedicate to this channel, so you'll have to make do with these bite-sized chunks this time around. We're going in alphabetical order here, and there's a great range of style and genres covered, so hopefully you'll find something you enjoy amidst this lot. Now, there's a couple of albums here that I've not enjoyed, but you'll have to watch the whole video to see which ones have invoked my ire. Anyway, let's get on with it. Post-rock really feels like it's tantalising my brainwaves these past few years, with releases from Godspeed You Black Emperor, Mogwai, God as an Astronaut, and Mono all managing to engage me with wide soundscapes, tremolo-picked guitars, and the kind of typical haunting beauty that the genre is so oft associated with. But above almost everything of late, Bruit have stepped up to the batter's position to prove themselves as masters of emotionally charged sounds, and the age of ephemerality might just be their most stirring statement yet. It's a record that really knows how to stretch a single moment into what feels like forever, pulling beauty from dissonance and giving grandeur to fragility. The juxtaposition between the humanity of the instrumentation and the technological social commentary of the more cold and clinical synth elements makes for an album that has a very clear message to tell and does a remarkably good job of doing so without coming across as patronising or heavy-handed. Easily one of the best post-rock albums of the year, but something else is coming out pretty soon that has picked this one to the post. If you missed Ghost Brigade after they split apart, then don't worry, as Ceresian Valot has risen from the ashes, and their debut offering of Uman is a stunningly textural journey into Finnish progressive folk metal. It has this glowing intimacy wrapped inside, cosmic psychedelia. It's like wolves in the throne room jamming with Anecdote in a forest chapel. The instrumentation is intricate but organic, the vocals are wild but warm. It's a transportative album that demands you light a candle, close your eyes, and let the moss grow over your very bones. It feels an entirely unexpected beast, though, as from the opening minutes of the first track that I'm not even going to try and pronounce, lest my Finnish friends sigh heavily and let loose a frustrated perkele in my general direction, you're somewhat led to believe that this is going to be a much heavier, more death metal-y experience, more akin to mid-era Opeth, and something that ultimately has more in common with bands like Anglagard. Expectations be damned, though. Uman is a bloody fine album that plays with whimsy and angst in equal measure to create a listening experience unlike no other this year, and is something you cannot afford to miss. Now, look, I don't generally review EPs on the channel, as I typically can't be asked to coin a professional term, but I will always make exceptions for the Deer Hunter. This EP is a lush and compact distillation of what makes Casey Crescenzo such a compelling songwriter. There's a new elegance to the arrangements, blending the band's theatrical rock roots with a more intimate Americana-adjacent sheen. Songs like Burritokyo are achingly tender without sacrificing the band's signature intricacy. Now, this does feel like a side quest rather than what's coming next, though, but it will be intriguing to see if any of the more pop-rock sensibilities here make it onto Sonya, whenever that eventually comes out. The Deer Hunter have proved with this one, though, that they are not only the kings of long-form, narrative-driven long plays, but they are also the kings of short, snappy, immediate, and hooky extended plays. Now I just have to decide if this one beats out All Is As All Should Be or not. If I could get paid real cold hard cash for every time a band crops up in the progressive metal space that is clearly and concisely influenced by Dream Theater, I'd be a wealthy man. Perhaps a slightly frustrated man owing to the lack of seemingly original thought, but wealthy all the same. This brings us to Joviac, and despite the potentially negative-sounding sentiment I kicked this part off with, they've managed to do something that so few bands can do. Ape their influences wholeheartedly, but capture my heart entirely regardless. This is a seriously catchy, seriously cheesy little number that part of me wants to be annoyed with, but the experience is so damn charming from start to finish that I'm willing to give it a pass. From 80s-inspired jams to power-pop choruses and gigantic flourishing riffs, what this record lacks in originality, it more than makes up for it in being tremendously good fun. And it is a truly dour-faced individual indeed who can't see the joy behind the music on this one. Took a couple of spins sure for it to click, but it has fast become a fallback album for me this quarter that I just cannot shake my mind from. This record feels like uncovering a time capsule in sound. It feels plucked from a different era, and it feels ornate, cerebral, and emotionally rich and rewarding. Gamle Mesta, much like its predecessor Fire Foretellinger, is full of mellotron wizardry, shifting time signatures, and Nordic melancholy, all delivered with that quintessentially Scandi prog flair. Frøislie's solo work is somehow more vintage and more adventurous than even Wobbler, and this record feels like a personal ode to forgotten masters of both the brush and the keyboard. Now, I will be completely honest with you all here, unlike the previous album, this one did take me a few spins before it sat comfortably on my palette. I don't know if it's due to it being largely quite similar to it, and that I was hung up on the immediate comparisons to be made, or perhaps it's just that 70s-inspired prog rock isn't always my go-to when it comes to music. Regardless, I'm glad I stuck with this one, because Gamle Mesta has nestled itself into a very comfortable niche within my musical diet, and I'm certain that this one will rise in my estimations as the year carries on. Kardashev's post-Death Gaze vision continues to evolve in fascinating ways on Alunia. The heaviness remains otherworldly, but it's the emotional vulnerability that makes this album truly sing. The balance between crushing growls and really tear-stained clean vocals is better than ever, and the ambient interludes are haunting rather than aimless. It's a vast, glacial, deeply felt work that I have been absolutely loving. Now, I've been quite anticipating this one given how much I've been enjoying their back catalogue, and for me, Alunia has not disappointed. The clean and more melodic vocals keep reminding me of Agent Fresco, and anything which can stir that band into my immediate consciousness has got to be worth paying attention to. The only real issue I can perceive with this album is that the screams might be too much for the Growler verse, and the cleans might be too Disney princess for the Disciples of Hell. Otherwise, though, there's a nice balance going on with Alunia, and you've got to give the band some props for having the linguistic chops to make your own sodding language for parts of the lyrics.
You're the night of my home. You've come to whisper again.
Whimsical, wildly ambitious, and utterly charming, Espresso della Vita Lunaire is the kind of record that could only come from a band as theatrical and silly as Maestrick. It's prog as a joyful musical theatre-adjacent fantasia, with dazzling instrumental interplay and lyrics that bounce between the philosophical and the surreal. Yes, at nearly 80 minutes long, good lord, it's really stretching my patience at times as to if it actually justifies this exceptionally bloated running time, with several tracks feeling like they could be shared without losing any of the real overall impact, and a few songs absolutely noodle for the sake of noodling, but when all is said and done, this is a remarkably silly, riotously entertaining album. For all of its excess bloat, I found myself smiling a lot during my time with this one. The guest spots from Tom Englund, Roy Khan, and Jim Gray are appreciated, and if you're into pompous, self-indulgent, theatrical Euro power prog, then this could easily be a top 5 album of the year for you. Messa's hypnotic brand of doom noir finds new clarity on purpose on The Spin. This is their most confident and atmospheric work yet, bringing together blues, jazzy detours, and a cult ceremony with grace and intensity. Sarah's vocals remain the anchor, elegant, powerful, and almost witch-like in their command. The record builds and releases tension masterfully, spinning you deeper into its shadowed world with every listen. Now, I've been listening to Messa since their debut album of Belfry back in 2016, and watching their evolution and growth into this confident, commanding entity within the doom metal landscape has filled me with a kind of weird pride that I can't even describe. Parasocial as this relationship may very well be coming across with the band, I just want to send them a hell yeah card. Each subsequent release feels like they've learnt so much from the previous one, but I still doubted their ability to one-up themselves after the incredible Close from 2022. But I would easily and happily call The Spin their most rewarding output yet. If tracks like The Dress and Thicker Blood don't convince you of Messa's dominance, then I don't really know what will. Okay, so quite a few of you have been pestering me to cover this one, and here it is, and as much as it's likely to disappoint some of you with my thoughts and feelings, I maintain my honesty with you here at all times. This is technically dazzling, yes, but Vildhjarta's latest offering, I don't know, sometimes feels like it's being strangled by its own complexity. You got riffs that chug like collapsing skyscrapers, rhythms that twist like pretzels. There's a brutality to admire here, sure, but there's very little for me to emotionally connect to. The atmosphere feels murky and impenetrable, the songwriting so dense at times it verges on numbing. Somewhere inside this swamp of thol, there's a great record, but it's buried too deep to dig out easily. I have wanted to like this album. I've wanted to love this album, as some of my favourite and most respected online publications have extolled the virtues of this one quite significantly. I mean, a 10 out of 10 from the Progressive Subway is not to be taken lightly after all. But the tragedy is, this kind of gent-adjacent, super technical metal often leaves me feeling cold, and there's no exception to the rule here, sadly. Now, I appreciate my sentiments towards the album might be going against the grain, but hey-ho, that's just the way things go sometimes. Right, so there we go. 10 albums, well, 9 and 1 EP, but who's counting, that I've been listening to this last quarter. Some are great, some not quite so much. There's a whole bunch of other albums I considered covering here as well, so I'm just going to quickly run through those here. Edensong, Our Road to Dust. Snooze, I Know How You Will Die. Turnstile, Never Enough. Fallujah, Zenitaph. Point Mort, Le Point de Non-Retour. Quadvirium, Tetradon. And Oceans, The Regeneration Itinerary. Ambrotype, The Colours of Darkness Volume 2. Oak, The Third Sleep. Lux Terminus, Cinder. Dormant Ordeal, Tooth and Nail. And Benthos, From Nothing. So you see, I've been busy. I listen to a lot of music like I always say, but if there is something from the last quarter that I've not mentioned that you think I would love, please do let me know about it, as frankly I hate the idea of something slipping through the cracks and missing me. If you did make it this far, thank you very much indeed for watching. Do consider leaving a thumbs up on the video and dropping me a sub if you've been enjoying my content. We are super close now to 3,000, so any move towards that would be crazy cool for me. If you fancy helping to support the channel financially, I have a range of t-shirts you can check out in my link tree that will be in the video description below. But until next time guys, keep your rhyme signatures pretty odd.